When the 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup season dawned at Daytona in the frosty first weeks of February, youthful Jeff Gordon was already a very familiar face in the racing world. Gordon was glowing with pride, fresh from a highly rated performance in 1994. In just 2 seasons, Jeff had shown he was on a gentle climb up the steep and slick ladder of racing respectability. It was easy to believe Gordon's future was full of promise and surprises, but not even the bold would dare to dream what was just ahead. At the tender age of 23, this talented and determined driver was about to be cast in the starring role of an amazing story thought too good to be true, until it actually happened. Every spring, the Daytona International Speedway glistens in the early morning hours. It is a sparkling reception for race teams and race fans, a warm welcome from the chilly winter months of preparation and anticipation. It is said you cannot win races in the off-season, but you can lose them. When the DuPont Automotive Finishes team rolled out their shimmering new Chevrolet Monte Carlo in February of 1995, the attention to detail was obvious. This was a team focused on the critical task ahead, racing and winning on the competitive Winston Cup circuit. Daytona is a stern test, a yardstick used by many to measure man and machine for the new season. The competition is always watching. While the points payoff is the same at every race, Daytona offers the prestige of winning a race so prominent, it is simply referred to as the 500. Gordon's flashy chassis started fourth and flew to the front of the 500 field, leading 61 of the first 91 laps. But his chance for a page in racing's stingy record book disappeared when his Chevy slipped off the jack during a pit stop, damaging the car and removing Gordon from contention. It did not take long for this team to rebound behind its energetic leader. The off-season prep time paid its first big bonus with a record-setting pole-winning roll at Rockingham. Gordon's DuPont ride started first and was the story throughout the day at the North Carolina Motor Speedway. Pit stops were perfect, and Gordon chauffeured his Chevy through traffic and around the rock with ease, leading 329 of 492 laps and holding off the charge of Bobby Labonte to pick up his first win of the season and the third of his career. The weekend at Rockingham served as a snapshot of a spectacular season looming just ahead. The pole, a win, and plenty of points. Jeff Gordon and Hendrick Motorsports were back in victory lane. It would become a familiar sight throughout the year. On week 3, the circuit plowed into cold and snowy Richmond, Virginia. The weather reduced qualifying to one tension-packed session on Saturday. Several familiar names failed to make the show, but for the second straight week, Gordon grabbed the pole with another track record of 124.7 miles per hour. Jeff's run at Richmond ended early with a bad fuel pump. He finished 36th and fell to 13th in points. The following week, crew chief Ray Evernham and his Rainbow Warriors left the disappointment of Richmond behind and marched into Atlanta, intent on returning to the front of the field. And that's exactly what they did. Gordon started third in the Pure Later 500, hung with pole sitter Dale Earnhardt through the early laps, then in a virtual repeat of Rockingham, soared into the lead and dominated the race, leading 250 of 328 laps and pulling into victory lane as the first 2-time winner in 1995. Gordon was so strong on this Sunday that only 3 other drivers could hang on to the lead lap. Darlington Raceway in South Carolina has deservedly earned its reputation as the track too tough to tame. But that didn't slow Gordon when it came time to qualify for the Trans-South 400. For the 3rd time in 5 races, Gordon stormed to the pole with another track record. But after leading 156 of the first 200 laps, his threat for back-to-back wins ended suddenly when he and Bobby Labonte were involved in a race-ending crash with rookie Randy LaJoie. Jeff finished 32nd and slipped 2 rungs to 8th on the points ladder as the series swung into Tennessee to begin the action-packed short track season. Race day in Bristol showcased a side of Gordon that had not been seen until now: the patience and practice required to win on NASCAR's demanding short tracks. Gordon shared the front row with Mark Martin. He battled for the lead with Martin and Kyle Petty. Then Jeff stunned the fans and maybe even his crew, leading 205 of the 500 laps. Mark Martin challenged Gordon most of the day, but pitted in the final laps with a flat tire, easing any pressure on the DuPont Chevy. And Gordon grabbed his first short track win of his Winston Cup career and was suddenly 4th in the race for the championship. As the series charged around the challenging short tracks, Gordon continued to be a weekly threat. He won his 4th pole at North Wilkesboro, led 95 laps, and finished second to Earnhardt. Rain, cold, and darkness made for a miserable weekend at Martinsville, unless your name was Jeff Gordon. After starting 3rd, Gordon led briefly, finished 3rd, and after just 8 events, had climbed from 22nd into 3rd place in points, a slim 70 behind Earnhardt. Next, the series moves south, leaving behind the short track bruises of Martinsville for the fast and fragile freight train racing of Talladega. Martin dominated, led the most laps, and earned the win. But Gordon grabbed the headlines, finishing 2nd on the track and darting into a tie for 1st in points. A tie that was broken by the number of wins, earning Gordon and his team a $100,000 bonus for leading the points race after the first 9 events. Gordon had led in each of those races, had 4 poles, 3 wins, and now was tied with none other than 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt in the fierce battle for racing's greatest title. It was hard to believe things could get any better, but they did. In the rolling hills of Sonoma, Gordon again delivered an eye-opening performance, finishing 3rd, his best ever road course performance. Still, there was a dash of disappointment at the conclusion of the California event. Jeff's streak of leading at least 1 lap in every race was broken, and Earnhardt had won. Jeff slipped to 3rd, 15 points behind the reigning champ. By the time the series shifted from California back to North Carolina, the DuPont team was ready to flex its muscle once more. Gordon emerged from a wild night of racing under the lights at Charlotte Motor Speedway as the winner of the 1995 Winston Select, a non-points all-star affair that pays off in pride and cash, $300,000, with plenty of fireworks to go along with it. Gordon's magic month of May continued in qualifying for the Coca-Cola 600. He shattered his own event record, winning his 5th pole of the season and another $36,000. Gordon was a popular pre-race pick to make the trip to victory lane days later, but his chances for victory dissolved in a shower of sparks when he lost a wheel and was forced to limp back to the pits. Gordon lost several laps, finished 33rd, and fell to 4th in points. Less than a week later, crew chief Ray Evernham had his team well polished and ready to race again. In an emotional run, Gordon grabbed the pole with another record on the new concrete surface at Dover, his 6th of the season, and Jeff finished 6th on Sunday. The next week at Pocono, it looked like Gordon and his guys would make a 4th trip to victory lane, leading 124 of 200 laps. But just 7 laps shy of the finish, the talented driver made a rare mistake, missing a critical shift on the final restart. Gordon tumbled back through the field, finishing 16th and falling 123 points behind Earnhardt, 3rd in the championship chase. At Michigan, another track record and another pole, 7 if you're counting. On race day, Gordon led 80 of 200 laps, battling Bobby Labonte for the final 60 before settling for an impressive 2nd place finish in a race that really shook up the point standings. Earnhardt crashed out of competition, finishing 35th. Sterling Marlin recaptured the point lead, just 6 ahead of Earnhardt, with Gordon only 12 points behind. The first half of the 1995 season ended right where it began, at Daytona, and the DuPont Chevy finally returned to victory lane as Gordon outdueled Earnhardt in a 1-lap dash to the checkers to become the youngest driver to ever win a Winston Cup event at Daytona. And that win came in just his 6th appearance. In New Hampshire, Gordon made it back-to-back wins, despite crashing in the first round of qualifying. He was the fastest qualifier in the 2nd round, started 21st, benefited from a surprising 2-tire pit stop, and charged on to his 5th win of the year, a victory that vaulted him into 1st place in the points race. At Pocono, Gordon charged home 2nd, the only Chevrolet in the top 8, and increased his lead in the points race to a margin of 106 over Sterling Marlin. The return trip to Talladega produced an 8th place finish, and race winner Marlin moved within 78 points of Gordon. At Indianapolis, Gordon won his 8th pole of the season, 1 day before his 24th birthday. His 6th place finish left him 82 points ahead of Marlin and earned the DuPont crew a second $100,000 bonus for leading the points race after 19 events. Gordon once again showed some road course muscle as he raced home 3rd at Watkins Glen in August. He picked up 70 points on Marlin, extending his lead to 152. In a near repeat of Loudon, Gordon crashed in the first round of qualifying in Michigan, was 2nd round fastest, And while he couldn't rope in Bobby Labonte, Gordon did come home third and stretched his lead to 167 points over Marlin, the biggest margin of the season thus far. The Saturday night race at Bristol didn't finish until Sunday morning, and when it did, Gordon added 9 points to his lead with a 6th place finish. Marlin now trailed by 176, with Mark Martin third, 280 back, and Earnhardt fourth, 294 points behind Gordon. On Labor Day weekend, Gordon clearly demonstrated he was the man to catch in the charge for the Winston Cup Championship. Jeff captured the pole, won the race, and padded his impressive point lead. After 23 events, Gordon now had 8 poles, 6 wins, 5 on demanding superspeedways, and led Marlin by a whopping 217 points. Under the lights at Richmond, Gordon posted a 6th place finish, while title contenders Marlin and Martin failed to finish in the top 10, and Earnhardt moved into 2nd place in the points race. Still, Gordon increased his point lead for the 6th straight week. The margin after 24 events, 279 points. At Dover, Gordon added his 7th and final win of the season, leading 400 of the 500 laps at the Monster Mile and expanding his lead by another 40 points, leaving Earnhardt 309 points back, the largest margin of the entire season. Down the stretch, Gordon was a weekly threat on the Winston Cup circuit, and while the DuPont Chevy never made another visit to Victory Lane, his team was now focused on the season-long goal of cementing the prestigious Winston Cup Championship. A solid 7th place at Martinsville and a 3rd at North Wilkesboro made it 14 straight top 10 finishes for the 2014 and left them 302 points ahead of Earnhardt with 4 races remaining. Charlotte and Rockingham resulted in a pair of disappointing finishes, but with just 2 races remaining, Gordon led Earnhardt by 162 points. In Phoenix, Gordon rose to the occasion and finished 5th, virtually clinching the crown. He left for Atlanta, leading Earnhardt by 147 points, and needed only to finish 41st or better in the season finale to cement the title. At the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Gordon was poised for the moment, yet still polite and professional. On race day, his car wasn't perfect, but his strategy was. When he led on lap 61, the 5 bonus points clinched the championship. The rest of the day was shared fighting an ill-handling car and celebrating a marvelous season. Gordon limped home 32nd, but stood tall and proud following the race, holding high the 1995 Winston Cup. Gordon's final margin of a slender 34 points was the 7th closest in NASCAR Winston Cup history. But as time goes by, it's not the margin, but the memories that are important. Jeff Gordon, crew chief Ray Evernham, and the DuPont team had delivered longtime car owner Rick Hendrick his first championship. A healthy reward for a popular and hardworking pioneer who helped shake stock car racing from its rustic roots and shared the design of its sleek and shiny future. Ray Evernham orchestrated and conducted the drive to the destiny. He was always in touch, never intimidated. Ray was truly the heartbeat of this Chevrolet. And Jeff Gordon delivered in the starring role, bringing NASCAR a new age champion, young, popular, and perfect for the part, born with desire and blessed with talent. As the sun set on the 1995 season, NASCAR celebrated more than just another winner. The sport had christened a new hero. And together, we can all share the moments and memories that will live a lifetime and a championship that will last forever.